everyone, welcome to None Such Farm. I know it has been a hot minute since I have made a video. I actually have quite a few videos in my phone that I need to edit and put out there, but I've had a few people ask me for my recipe for chicken soup with dumplings, and it's like an old-fashioned recipe. I have my mom's old Betty Crocker cookbook that I got the dumpling recipe from, and I posted a picture of it on Facebook one night, and everybody's like, can I have that recipe? So I figured, you know what, I'm gonna make a video of it. It's so easy, it's super simple. I went to Hannaford tonight and I bought this teeny tiny rotisserie chicken. If you can, get your rotisserie chickens at Sam's Club. They are twice the size and cheaper. This one was $7.99, so $8 for this tiny little chicken. And it's because it's cold. If I wanted a hot one, it was going to be $8.99. So I just grabbed a cold one. It didn't matter that it was cold. If I would have gone to Sam's Club, I'm going to show this to you. I would have gotten a chicken twice this size for $5.99 at Sam's Club. What a ripoff, huh? But I wasn't going in town to Sam's Club, so I figured it's just me, and I'm going to show you guys how to make this. So what I do, take the string off and toss it. Now, you can buy broth and make a soup with the broth that you buy, but you have these bones and scraps. That's what we're going to make our broth with. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to tear this apart. I actually am going to take a glove off and tilt this down so you can see. So we're going to debone this. Pretty simple. I'll actually grab my pot to throw the bones in. So I'm using two pots. I'm going to start my broth in one pot, and then I'll start my carrots, celery, and onions in another. Now, I throw everything in my broth pot. I throw the bones, I throw the skins. There's so much flavor in that. I throw everything, and I want to make sure that I get like all these like gristly parts off my meat, because all this meat's going to be going into my soup when I'm done making the broth. Oh, whoops, and look at me go. I'm throwing the wrong pieces in here. Whoop. I want to put the meat in there. Now, if I wanted to make a bone broth, I would cook this a lot longer than what I'm cooking it to make a chicken soup. I'm going to cook this for about an hour. Make sure you get all the bones off too. Make sure you're not putting bones in with your soup. You want to put them in with your stock. And you can, if you really want to get old-fashioned, roast your own chicken. Buy a whole chicken. It's cheaper. You can put some seasonings on it and roast it, or you can just throw it in a pot of water and boil it. You can buy chicken legs. You can buy chicken breast, whatever you want to boil down to get that broth. I like the rotisserie chicken because the broth has a lot of flavor with this skin, and also where it's already cooked, you're not getting as much fat in your broth. So I don't even strain the fat out. My soup is made with what little fat I get. Oh, here's another string. I'm gonna chuck that. And I didn't know if you knew, but the best meat on a chicken, whole chicken, is underneath these little divots in here. That's the best meat on the chicken right there. It's so, oh, look, I did it again. I put it in the stock pot. It's so soft and tender, and it leaves these little, you get them where the bone indents like that. So good. So I'm gonna get all this meat off this chicken, and then I'll be back. All right, so I want to show you what I got. I got this great big plate of chicken, and I'm not going to, every time I do this, I never use all this meat for my soup because that's a lot of meat. If you want to, you can, but I don't. And this is what I have for broth. Because there's not many bones, I didn't want to use too much broth. Now, when I cook this, I am going to, whoops, you're a little crooked. I'm going to put the cover on, because if I left the cover off and it boiled, because this is going to boil for about an hour. If I left the cover off, I'd lose about an inch of it because of the vapors and everything. It would just it would lower the amount that I have. So I'll put the cover on, turn this on high heat and boil it for about an hour, and you'll be able to see how the liquid turns like a light brown, like a tan. So I'm going to get this going. And I don't need to season that because I'm going to be seasoning my soup. So I'm going to put that aside. I do have celery and onions in my freezer, all chopped. So I will get those in a few minutes. But I bought a bag of carrot sticks for $1.99. Can't go wrong. So I'm just going to chop these carrot sticks. Party sticks is what they call them. So right now, you're looking at probably a $10 meal that'll feed your whole family. But I'm also making biscuits, and that would probably include the biscuits too. So I'm going to get to chopping these. We're going to let this come to a boil, and it's going to boil for an hour. And I'll check back in with you off and on and show you what it looks like as it gets going. It might foam up a little bit. That's okay. So we'll be back. So I just wanted to come back on to say I did add more water to the chicken because it just didn't feel like it was a lot for me. So it's about half a pot, a little bit over a half a pot of water and chicken bones and skin. And there's some meat in there. I know there's some meat in there too. I'm only using about half of the chicken, of the rotisserie chicken meat. The other half I put in the freezer. It makes great sandwiches, chicken salad sandwich. My grandson loves chicken salad sandwich, so I'll probably bring some to him. And these are my carrots. I got half this container's filled with carrots. The other half is filled with onions and celery that were in the freezer that I had chopped up, which let me tell you, what a convenience. If you can find celery and onions in bulk in the summertime from a farmer, buy it and chop them up and throw them in your freezer because they come in so handy when you're cooking. You don't feel like chopping anything. Just grab a handful. What I do is I spread them out on parchment paper on a cookie sheet, put them in my freezer overnight. Then I put them in bags so I can just grab a handful. They're not all stuck together. And it's so convenient. Boy, is it convenient. And if you have one of those chopper things that, you bang it down and it chops them, invest in one if you don't, because I use mine all the time for peppers, onions, celery, whatever I need to chop. I don't with carrots because they're a little tough. I probably could have with these because they were thin, but yeah, I will tell you that works out great. So I do want to tell you, my friend Tiffany contacted me. She loves old cookbooks. She has this thing for old cookbooks, and she knew I was looking for a cookbook that was my mom's that I cannot find that she had. Hang on, I'm going to pause you for a minute. So I have this of hers, this old Betty Crocker cookbook, but it's not the one that my mom had. The one that my mom had was much older. It had like a cloth kind of cover. It was a hard cover, but it was metal underneath, but then cloth. It was from the 50s. And she had the best recipes in that. She followed a lot of them too. But in this one here is the dumpling recipe. There's a great banana bread recipe in here too. And the dumpling calls for shortening, flour, baking powder, salt, and milk. That's it. How often do you cook with shortening now? Not that often anymore, but it cooks up. These dumplings are amazing, and we're going to make them and drop them in, but we don't need to do that for quite a while. It's going to take a hot minute. Now, as far as your soup is concerned, if you want to add potatoes to this, you can. If you want to add noodles at the end, you can. I'm not a fan of noodles in my soup, only because they get soggy, and I like my noodles al dente. And I just like this, especially eating the dumplings. And now, if I could just make the broth and have just the dumplings, I would be so happy. Dumplings, I don't know if any of you have had them, but they are so good. And when you drop them in, any of the spices, the herbs that you have go into those dumplings, and they look so pretty. So we're going to do that. And this is starting to boil a little bit. So I'm going to let that boil for an hour, and then we'll come back and I'll start sauteing up the onions, peppers, and celery, and garlic. You want garlic too. You can't make a dish without garlic, right? Right. All right, we'll be back. I remember what I wanted to tell you. I got distracted with the dumpling recipe. I was talking about the cookbooks and how I'd been looking for one, and my friend Tiffany loves old cookbooks. Well, she messaged me yesterday, sent me a picture of this cookbook that's on the marketplace and said, is this the one you're looking for? And I said, yes, that's the one. And I looked it up, and it was like all the way across Maine. It was like Western Maine. And I'm like, well, I'll do a road trip this weekend. She goes, I got you. She went and picked it up for me today. She drove all the way across the state of Maine to go get me this cookbook. What a great friend. And the bonus is she's my neighbor too. So Tiffany has gone to get me that cookbook. I'm so excited to get it. I just can't wait to look through it and just try to reminisce on and see if I can find any of the old recipes in it that my mom used to cook for us. So I got a little distracted when I was talking about dumplings, but that's what I had been meaning to talk about, was the cookbook and my friend Tiffany and what she's done for me. So, but yeah, so I will show you that cookbook sometime when we make another video, but stay tuned. So I just want to show you guys what this looks like. A little hot. So it's boiling quite rapidly, and you can see it's already starting to turn brown. Can you see that? Hopefully my phone doesn't fall in there, but it's starting to turn brown, and it smells amazing in here. It smells so good. So you see all the skin, and you might see some meat in there too from me missing some. You can't get it all. It's kind of hard, especially when it's cold. When the rotisserie chicken is cold, it's harder to pull it apart. But look at that goodness. Why buy broth when you can make your own? And it's so easy. So easy. So I will turn this off and be back. Okay, so while the broth is cooking, I am going to start. It hasn't been an hour yet, but I'm going to start doing everything else. I'm going to start sauteing my onions, carrots, and celery. So let's bring you over to the stove. I got my big stock pot here. This is the stock pot that the chicken is in, and I have a second stock pot that I'm going to start this stuff in. Ooh, can you guys, you can't really see the stock pot. I need one of those tripods that go up higher, or one that goes above the stove that looks down. That would be cool. So I'm just going to put a little bit of oil in my pan. And where these are still frozen, I'm going to get more liquid in it. I'm going to get some water in it as it cooks, but that water will cook out of it. Dump it all in there. That's what it looks like. Now, I'm not adding the garlic yet, because if I added the garlic now, it's going to burn it. It's going to overcook it. And when you overcook it, it turns bitter. So I'm not going to add that yet. So we'll cook this up just until the onions get a little translucent, because this is going to finish cooking in the stew, in the broth. Now, when I'm ready, when they get a little translucent, I will add the garlic. But right now, it's the ice is melting, so it's getting kind of liquidy in there. So I have my heat on high so that that liquid can cook off. So I'm gonna go get the garlic. So when I put the broth in with the vegetables, I'll use a mesh strainer. If you don't have a mesh strainer, you can use a colander and just put like a dishcloth in it to catch all the bones and stuff. But if you have a fine mesh colander, that works really good too. But you want to try to, and a lot of times I will put a cloth on that too, but I don't feel like dirtying one. And I don't think any of the bones are small enough to get through that anyways. And where I haven't cooked this for that long, I can put those bones back in that pot, add more water, add a little bit of vinegar, and make some bone broth. Now the vinegar will pull all the nutrients and the collagen out of the bones, and I can make some bone broth and can that up, or I can put it in my freezer for the next time. You remember the rest of the chicken that I have in the refrigerator, in the freezer? From this chicken that I'm not using, I can make up another soup. So you get 2 soups out of 1 chicken. And it's enough for a family of 4 and then some. especially if you add dumplings. I couldn't think of what the name of it was. Boy, have I missed cooking with you guys. So there's quite a bit of water in here. And just let that cook out. It's on high, but it hasn't really gotten up to temp yet. Oh, if you could smell this in here, it smells so good. Now you can add, I might add some frozen peas, but I wouldn't add them until the very end. Maybe like 15 minutes before I'm putting the dumplings in, because they don't take that long to cook. You don't want them to turn into mush, so they only need like 10-15 minutes to cook. Now the recipe that I follow, it says to drop the dumplings on the vegetables in the broth, in the soup, so they don't go underwater, so they sit up. I let mine go underwater. When I drop them in, they sink right down to the bottom and pop back up. It also says to leave uncovered while cooking. I don't. I cover that. It cooks a lot quicker. I don't understand. My mom never left it uncovered to cook hers. You want to get that steam to cook those dumplings. They don't brown up by any means. They're kind of soggy on the outside and like a soft, yummy biscuit on the inside. So good. And they rise up. They do get larger. They do rise. So while that's cooking, I will turn that down just a little bit because I might get distracted while I'm cooking up the dumplings over here. So I've got my bowl right here. I got my Crisco. Do you know how old that is? That is from when my mom used to cook. My mom had dementia for 6 years, I think, 7 years, and it's still good. Still good. So we need 3 tablespoons. Oh, did I make a double batch last time? I think I did. I think I did. We'll just do a single batch. It's just me. So 3 tablespoons of Crisco. If you go a little over, that's all right. When I was making these last time, I just used my fingers to get this out. But, you know, people are watching me this time, so I kind of have to be good. I wonder how many of you have never cooked with Crisco. Make pies with Crisco. I could have used bacon fat. I could have used my bacon grease, but because you can substitute that. But I don't know how bacon flavored dumplings would taste. So there's 3 tablespoons. Now let's see if I can do this without making a huge mess. 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Ooh, I'm running low on flour. There's 1. What size is that? That's a half. Good. One and a half. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And I am going to be cutting this very close. Had enough. Then it calls for 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and you know I'm going to measure with my heart with that one. I'll call that good. Just Throw this back up in the kitchen cabinet. And let me grab my milk. We'll give this a quick stir. Yeah, the water's going away. It's evaporating. You can smell the carrots. I'm actually going to add my garlic now. And I get the already chopped up stuff from Sam's, and I'm going to do a heaping tablespoon. You can do a few cloves if you want, however you want to do it. And I'm not going to leave this now that I have the garlic in because it only takes a minute. Oh, it smells so good. Let's get you over here so you can see this. So this smells heavenly. Nice and brown. I don't know if you can see that with all that steam coming up. It's a tan color. Now, like I said, I did not season this broth yet. I'm going to season it after I get, if you can see this, see what that looks like. The carrots are not going to be cooked. They're going to be cooked in the broth. So I have my strainer, fits perfect there. I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to strain this right into here. Oh, that fit too perfect. Woo. So now I'm going to take all this goodness here, put it back in the pot, and I'm going to make up some more. I'll throw some water in there really quick. Now at this point, I will add my spices. Now I don't have measurements. I measure with my heart with this, and I will tell you everything that I put in it. Now where this is a second boil of this chicken, the chicken bones, I am going to put some vinegar in it too. I will cook this a lot longer. I will cook this like hours. This is boiling. So this is what I'm going to add. I have some thyme. I always add thyme to my soups. It belongs in there. And that's probably about a teaspoon. And I like to smush it all around because it brings out the flavor in the herb. Ooh, it smells so good. You really have to have thyme in this. Let's go with some Italian seasoning. Probably about the same amount. You definitely have to have some sage, and I only have fresh sage that I freeze dried. So I've got some freeze-dried sage. You can just use the powdered sage. Where this is fresh, freeze-dried, I have a bit more. You could use fresh leaves too. I don't even think I need this much. And I'm smushing this up a little bit more too. Yeah, I don't need that much. I'm going to put some of that back. And I do have a little bit of chicken bouillon that I am going to add just to give it a salty chicken flavor. We'll add some salt. And you season this with salt and pepper to your desire. So that's 1 tablespoon. I think that's all I'm going to put in there is 1 tablespoon of bouillon. Pepper. Got to have some pepper in there. Oh, it just smells so good. And a little bit of salt. Now that's going to cook until my vegetables are tender. I'll stir this around. If you could just smell this, it smells so good. And at this point, I will add my chicken. You want the chicken to get all that flavor and break up a little bit. There. See how easy that was? And it is the best soup. So, sorry. So you'll see I've got some floaters up here. That's okay. As that cooks, they're going to get melded down in. Now, you can thicken this with some cornstarch if you want to. I may do that. I may thicken it a little bit. Yeah, I'll probably thicken it a little bit. You don't have to, but I probably will just because I like that thicker texture. Cover. Oh, I think it's in my dishwasher. It is. It's in the dishwasher. So you always, is that my cover? I think so. You always want to cover this because you don't want your soup to evaporate. All right, let's get back with these dumplings. I need 3/4 cup of milk. Now, before I pour this milk in there, you remember my Crisco that's under there. I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to kind of mash this all together. I want that Crisco incorporated with this flour before I add the milk. So it's going to be like little beads in here. It's going to, you want it to latch onto the flour and make little beads. So I'm going to just smash this around, mix it up as best I can. You do this with pie crust too, if you've ever made pie crust. You want to incorporate the flour with it. You don't want big chunks of Crisco in there. Now, when I scoop this out to put it in the soup, you can use a couple spoons, tablespoons or teaspoons, or you can use an ice cream scoop, which is what I do. It's much easier. All right, so that's pretty incorporated. I don't know if you can, whoops, I'm making a mess. I don't know if you can see that. But it's kind of like sand almost. Yeah, so now we add the milk. And it's just going to make a little dough. Just stir that up. And it's all done. That's it. That's it. That's all you do. Let me show you. See? That's what it looks like. It's just a dough. So I'll take an ice cream scoop, scoop it out, and put it in my soup. So we're going to let the soup cook for a while, and we'll be back. Okay, so our soup has been cooking for about 10 minutes. So I am going to add some peas. And I'm not measuring, I'm just adding. Now, had I had a Sam's Club rotisserie chicken, I would have had a lot more soup. But this is enough to feed 4 people easily. But it would have doubled my soup recipe if I had a rotisserie chicken. So that's enough. That was probably a half a cup of peas. My carrots are almost done cooking, so that'll give my peas plenty of time to cook. But that's probably about, maybe 3 or 4 quarts of soup. Maybe. Yeah, so that's plenty for 4 people, plus you have the dumplings, so. But we'll be back. I actually am back, like, right now. I actually came back to, I forgot to add the cornstarch slurry. So I've got about maybe 2 heaping tablespoons of cornstarch in here. I'm going to add just a couple tablespoons of water. Oops, added a little bit too much, but that's okay. I'm going to give that a good stir. Now, had I been thinking when I was doing my onions, carrots, and celery, I could have added a little bit more butter or oil to it and added flour and cooked down the flour and made a roux instead of using cornstarch, but that's all right. That's not a problem. So we're just going to add this. It's not going to thicken it up a whole lot, but it'll leave a good coating. It'll make it a good coating. And as that cooks, it'll thicken too. So let's show you what that looks like. And now the peas are floating. They're not, they will disperse once they cook and as this thickens also. But this is what it looks like, and it's delicious. I've tasted it. I don't need to add any more seasonings or spices. Really, really good. So good. So we'll be back. Okay, so this did not thicken up as thick as I wanted it to, or, well, not that I wanted it to, but as thick as I planned, but I don't care. I like it just like this, like the way it is. So let me give you a little show. My peas are still floating a little bit, but they're done. The carrots are done. The onions and celery are done. Everything is cooked. So I am going to start adding the dumplings, and I'm going to show you how to do that and what it looks like. I'm going to show you the first one so you can see what it looks like when it drops into the bowl, into the soup, I mean. So I'm just going to drop it in, and it's going to sink. You see how that sunk? It's going to come back up. Don't make me out to be a liar. Come on, dumpling. It'll come up. Honestly, it will. I'm going to do the rest of them, but it will come back up, I promise. So I'm going to do the rest of them. And this is, I think, it's a, this is a medium large scoop from Pampered Chef. Yep, see, there it is. It came back up. It just took a minute. And you just kind of spread them out around the bowl, around the pan. It just took a hot minute for it to come up. There's the second one. Yeah, I should have made a double batch because I think I'm only going to get like 5, 6. I don't know how many I put in there already, but that's all right. So you see, they're going to pop back up. There's another one pop back up. I think there might be one there. I'm not sure. I know I put one over here. Oh, there's one. Might have, that's all. That might be all I have, but that's okay. So I am going to put the, oh, there's the 6th one. There we go. I'm going to put the lid on and let that boil and let them cook about 10 minutes maybe. I'll be able to look at them and tell. They'll get big. They'll pop up and get big, and they're so delicious. So we'll be back. All right. These dumplings have to be done. So when you look at them, they look kind of mushy and gross. Can you see that? I don't even know if you can see that. You can take the cover off for a little bit and let them kind of dry out. I'm going to turn this off. Now, you want to let this set for a while, because if you're serving it to children or whoever, because it's going to be hot. It's going to be really, really hot. It's been boiling. So I'm just going to get in here, scoop out a little bit of soup and a dumpling, which is my favorite. I'm not really after the soup tonight. I want the dumplings. I'm going to scoop out a couple dumplings with a little bit of soup. I'm all about the dumplings. Now, hopefully, I wasn't too impatient and I got into it too soon. So let's go check out what the inside looks like. It smells heavenly in here. I'm gonna see if I can sit you down here a little bit so you can see these dumplings. Doesn't that look delicious? You can still see the steam. I am hoping that I didn't hurry too quickly. No, look at that. It's nice. It looks like a biscuit inside. So yummy. Nice and soft. Ooh, I really want to try a bite, but I know it's going to be so hot. Very good. Very good. So this probably took about an hour to cook. I could have cooked the soup longer. Typically I do. I could have like cooked the broth longer, and normally I do, but I kind of was in a hurry to get this done and I was bored. So it took about an hour, and it's delicious. It's so good. Very good. So Julia and Kathleen, you two asked me for the recipe for my soup the other day. This is it. I'm going to post it. Make sure you watch the video and share it. Share it with all your friends so they can make this soup. This is just a great soup to have when you don't feel good. And it's so easy. So easy. But you can kind of take shortcuts, like not cook your own broth. But it's just not the same. Not the same. You really want to cook your own broth. But that's it, you guys. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and share my videos if you would, please. That helps get me out there. And I promise I will start posting more videos. Like I said, I have a bunch I need to edit. Canning potatoes, and it was dry packed and with water. And geez, I got a couple more videos. It's been so long since I've made them. I don't even know what they are. So I'll have to go back in my phone and check it out and see what I have. But I hope you guys make this soup, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. It's really good. It's a good old-fashioned chicken soup with dumplings. So make sure you share my video. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Bye-bye.